Hello, Nick family. Welcome to the Queen's Court. We're here every Monday night chomping it up about our New York Knicks. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button so you'll be notified anytime we go live. That includes this show, of course, the Queen's Court, the controversy with Josh, the crossover with my co-host, Tony Kroll, the NBA report with Ron and John from Still Nick fans, and of course, anything Sim puts out in terms of videos, keeping us updated on what's going on with the Knicks. And during the season, preseason, summer league, as you saw, pregame, postgame shows for each game. Today, we're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of staying pat with this team right here. I'm joined by DJ Shuttle, Tony Kroll, Sim is in the building, and Jarrell. Hello, fellas. How are you?
Peace, Queen.
Peace. Salute.
I'm good. Slow news season, right? This August
Slow.
is it's slow, but we here.
So
As
slow,
we are-
Andy had to do clickbait.
Right.
Shout out to International
Shout out to
Andy.
Andy. Listen, when you first getting started, it's real tough. I remember 2 months doing this show by myself, scripting out every letter, every word. So it's not always easy. You get better with time. So shout out to you, Andy. This has been in the works since I've been a part of NBK.
For
So
real.
I'm
Andy
happy.
tried to start East Coast, West Coast beef.
Right.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
Love
And the chat is like we say with Knick fans, they on it. You can't get nothing past the chat for real.
Nah. Yeah, they're gonna let you know.
Yeah. Somebody was in there talking about like people not having their camera on. I'm like, wow. they really getting into it. Salute to the chat. Appreciate you. Listen, let's get into it. You know, there's different scenarios that talks have stalled between the Knicks and Utah. Let's get into it. You know, is that me?
No, that was me.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay. Or Leon Rose and the Knicks pulled out of the trade, whatever. The question I have is, do you think the Knicks should stay pat regardless at this particular time and just roll into the season with this particular roster and the advantages and disadvantages of doing so? Should I start? I'm ready.
I mean, you leading it off or you going around?
Well, I just want to throw something out there real quick. I think that the disadvantage to me is that unlike us, the fans, I think the Knicks front office is on a timeline. And I don't think that means that they're to be reckless, you know, in terms of just, we got to improve the team. We have to bring in a star. We have to do something so we can get an extension, so we can still be here and save our jobs. I don't think it's that type of, you know, where they're going to be reckless. But I do think for the front office, there is some urgency to improve this team, put it on the right track. Even if we're not a championship contender by the time their contract is up, that they can at least go to the owner and show that it's only a few years away and the owner can actually see, you know, the direction of the team. So I think that that's the context to what this deal. I think a lot of times we don't appreciate the context behind it. Like, these things don't happen in a vacuum. So that's just my take on it. But yeah, Tony, we'll just go around. Tony, Sim, DJ Shuttle, Jarrell. If you're not ready, then
I'll say this. I hope that, like you said, they don't go into a deal because they feel forced that they have to do something.
right.
If they feel like the deal, they're giving up too much, walk away. You know what I mean? What was that line in Heat? If you can't walk away from it in 15 seconds, then you know what I mean, you don't do the job. You know what I mean? So I don't mind if they don't make the move because the asking price is too high. I don't think it's a scenario where you got to do it by any means necessary. I understand the risk in the job, their jobs potentially being on the line at some point. But I respect someone who stands their ground and says, I'm not gonna do this deal if I think it's the wrong deal to save my job. I'd rather take the chance of losing my job because I'm doing what I feel is right.
Right. So what's the advantages and disadvantages of staying pat in your
Well, I'll say
you don't have to do both. You could just do whichever side you pick.
I'll give it an advantage of staying pat in like we just spoke about. I think the roster is very balanced as is. You're relying on some young guys to come in and improve what they can do, but I think all these guys have potential and enough talent to kind of move forward and be better and keep getting better. So I think the window is still wide open with the team that we have as currently constructed. So I'll say that as an advantage that the window's still open. You know what I mean? These guys have a lot of room to grow, and they're on a trajectory of growing. It's not like people are kind of taking, or everybody's taking step backs. You know what I mean? I think we've seen most of the roster take a step forward year after year.
Okay, Sam.
Yeah, I think they should still pursue the trade. I don't think they should pull out just yet, but I think they need to have a certain point where they're like, all right, if we don't get it done by this date, then we're going to rock with this roster until the trade deadline, and then maybe we'll look at it again during the trade deadline. But I think you've got to go into training camp with some sense of stability. You know what I mean? And if you go in still, and players are still worried about, will they get traded or this or that, then you're setting yourself up to start the season off rocky,
Right.
and set a bad culture for the season. So I think you got to have a clear-cut point like, if we don't get this thing done, I don't care if it's the day before training camp, right? But, you know what I'm saying? But if we don't get this thing done by this date, then we're going to wait until the trade deadline. So I think they do got to draw a line in the sand there. But I think they should continue to pursue the trade up until that line. But like Tony said, I want them to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever they consider smart to be, you know what I mean? Like me, I don't care about the draft picks. Some people do, you know what I'm saying? So whatever they feel is their line in the sand as far as what they're going to give up, I want them to stick to that and, do it that way. When I look at, I think there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages on both sides that has to do with the front office as well as the players and the team itself, right?
Right.
When you look at, all right, so advantages of getting Donovan Mitchell, of course, are going to be that you get Donovan Mitchell. He's a guy that you think can be a closer. He's a guy that you think can be a superstar for your team, that takes your team up a whole nother level, I think. You know what I mean? Especially if you're able to keep Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Jalen Brunson. If you're able to keep that four, now you got, I think, a nice little nucleus that you look at to see where it goes. Now, you may make changes to that nucleus as you see where things go and how it happens, but you have a nice nucleus to say, all right, this is a starting point for us. You know what I'm saying? We're going to see what this does. But then, so that's an advantage. And of course, an advantage for the front office is that they can look and say to James Dolan, we brought you a star here. You know what I'm saying? We had nothing. We saved up draft picks. We made moves. We brought you a star. Plus, we got young talent on the team. So, I think it would definitely be a notch in their belt, to get Donovan Mitchell here. In the same breath, it also puts pressure on them to take it a step further now. Okay, you got us a star, but we're still not a championship contender. So now what? Right? What's the next step? Where do we go from here? You know what I mean? So then it put, and not only does it put a little bit of pressure on him for the next step, I think it speeds up the timeline too. Even though he's still young, all of a sudden the expectations go up a notch.
Yeah,
Right?
no doubt about it.
You signed Jalen Brunson, you brought in Donovan Mitchell, you got Julius Randle, you're probably gonna extend RJ Barrett, right? Now the expectations go up a notch, and it's like, yeah, we expecting something to happen sooner than later. You know what I'm saying? So this is the kind of move that can make or break your, I don't want to say career, but your job at MSG. You know what I'm saying? This could be one of those career job. I don't want to say career. Well, it was career defining moment too, but job defining moment for Leon Rose in this front office. So if it works, it's gonna look really, really good. If it doesn't work, and you gave up a lot, it may look really, really bad. You know what I mean? So there's that. And then for the team, as far as if you stay put, I think a big disadvantage is that you're going to have a team that's been together for a little while. You know what I'm saying? Like when you trade for Donovan Mitchell, you're going to give up some pieces. You might give up IQ and Obi, right? Or you might give up Quentin Grimes and whoever, You're going to give up a combination of players. And then Donovan Mitchell's going to come here, and he hasn't been with the team. This team right here, I mean, when you look at the starting lineup, Jalen Brunson is new, but Evan Fournier's been there for a year. RJ Barrett and Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson, they've been here for 4 or 5 years. I think Mitchell Robinson came before RJ Barrett, right? So they've been here. I mean, you're talking Julius Randle and RJ Barrett would have been teammates for 4 years now, right? Yeah, this year would be 4 years that they would have been teammates. Mitchell Robinson would have been 4 years with them guys as well. Evan Fournier would be their second year. Jalen Brunson, obviously, his first year. But then when you look at the bench, IQ and Obi, this will be their third year together. You know what I'm saying? Derrick Rose has been on the team this will be his third year on the team. And then you got Cam Reddish. He came halfway through the season last year. And Hartenstein is new. So you got some guys that have, you got a nice group of players that have been on this team. So the chemistry, I think that's a big advantage, is that chemistry will continue to grow, continue to build. It's a group. Let's put it like this. As much as we complain about Julius Randle and his emotions, the team's like, well, damn, we know about that. It's a problem for y'all, but we used to it. You know what I'm saying? And we know how we deal with it within the locker room. Tom Thibodeau is used to his players. The longer you have players on the team, the better you start to figure out, I know what this guy does. I know what this guy does. You can use your pieces better. You understand how guys, how they play, what their emotions are like, how they're going to react in certain situations. Like all of this stuff grows and you figure it out. So I think that's the biggest disadvantage of not making the trade. I mean, the biggest advantage of not making the trade. You know what I'm saying? Is that, you get to see how this team flourishes, and you're still very, very young. You know what I'm saying? In that starting five, I think Evan Fournier would be the oldest, and he'll turn 30 sometime this year. You know what I mean? But for the most part, that's a young starting five. And then the guys coming off the bench, if you take Derrick Rose and he's situational, that's a young group coming off the bench. So you're still growing with a very young team. You know what I mean? So I think that would be an advantage. Of course, the disadvantage would be, do you have a closer out there on the floor? You don't know if someone's going to develop into a closer. And, do players take steps forward? Are you missing out on your chance to move forward? So, but
yeah, great point.
That's where I'm at with it. It's a tough decision, but I'll be okay. I'll still be just as excited with this team as currently constructed coming into the season.
I would too, but my ceiling of what I can expect for this team would be lower. But I would be just as excited as well. Well, excited. I think I would be more excited if Donovan
Yeah,
Mitchell
I
was
probably will
Right,
too.
not,
I'm
not
probably
just as,
yeah,
right.
I'm
but I
probably
would still be
lying.
excited to
Yeah, I'm
to
sure.
see this.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm lying a little bit. I don't know if it's just excited. I'll be excited.
Right. DJ Shuttle, would you pull out of the trade altogether at this point? And then second, what's the advantages or disadvantages of staying pat?
Well, I respect a good game of chess, a good game of poker. You know, I live and die for the ability to carry on and you not know what's on my mind and what I'm thinking. I live for that. So all the questions, all the doubts, I don't know what's going on. I'm loving all of it. And the team has proven to make savvy deals over the past 2+ years. So I've got confidence that that they are going to continue to pursue it when it's time. I think, again, there's no team that's out there that can offer a better deal that wants to make a deal. You know what I mean? So, we got some suitors. I think it's about maybe up to 5 teams out there right now. They were talking about the Cavs, maybe Sexton. There was talk about maybe Ingram. But those teams don't have the picks, and we know how much Ainge values picks. So I think this deal's still in play. To Sin's point, get it done a day before camp opens. I love it. You know what I mean? I'm all for it. But yeah, at some point, this team management is not going to, throw the house away and give the house away. And I know we may say, so what with the picks, 6, 7, 8 picks, 10 picks, 20 picks, give all the picks away, they don't matter. I know, like, we may want to think that way as fans, but I don't know if the savvy management is going to look at it that way. And even if it's not picks, all right, you want the picks, well, you got to take these players, not those players, and Ainge is shrewd, and Rose and team have proven to be shrewd too. So at the end of the day, you got to always know when to pull out, though. You heard? So I think it's advantages. I think it's advantages and disadvantages. Whether you do the deal or not. A lot of what Sim said, I'm like on with exactly that. The camaraderie of the team, keeping them together is a super duper advantage. And we know this by the look of the team in Summer League, because you saw the players that have been on the team, they had the coaching, they know the system, they know the expectations, they've been drilled and trained and worked hard, and that's what they brought to Summer League. So I'm confident now, with the third year with this coach, bringing in a real point guard, the team as is, I think I'm not going to be surprised if they exceed the expectations. If this is the team, I'd love to have Mitchell, but at the same time, like I don't have him as like top 10 player in the league, but he's great. I don't got him as top 10. I don't got him as top 5. So that does give me a little pause with these draft picks. So I would have a little line in the sand with the draft picks and the players myself. But I'd love to have him here.
Okay, Jarrell.
I'm kind of torn by this question because I want Donovan Mitchell so much, so I'm trying to get out of my own head and see how the front office is really thinking. I think it would be Sim had a whole bunch of points about how it would be the advantage of standing pat. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate, the disadvantages of it. Like how are the players feeling, the ones that's involved in the trade? I think a lot of people aren't really thinking about that. Like, we've been talking about this trade for like over a month now. So everybody knows who has to go in the trade damn near if we want to be successful in the trade. Like, somebody has to go. So these players have heard this too. So if it doesn't go down, how does that affect the team going forward?
Right.
especially somebody like Obi, who was kind of clamoring for player time anyway because Julius Randle's in front of him. So now, because of that, and plus he's in trade talks now, how does he feel like backstage? Like,
He does seem kind of he does seem kind of uber sensitive.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know him personally, but from the outside looking in, I can definitely see that. But even IQ, Evan Fournier, how does he feel? Because like most likely he would have to be the one going. So if it doesn't happen before training camp, I really don't know how this team is going to react towards that. Like to me, that's a huge question mark.
Are you more concerned with it lingering, or are you more concerned with the fact that their names were potentially mentioned and it didn't happen?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
It could be both.
Because I mean, if the trade didn't happen, or all right, let me ask you this: if Mitchell gets traded somewhere else, right? Yeah, does that change? That changes things. Okay.
Right. That changes things, but just by your name being in trade talks, period, that just means if another superstar is available next year, that your name will probably be in the trade talks again. So it could still be lingering, but like you said, like if Donovan Mitchell goes somewhere else, then yeah, I think it'll be a lot better for the team.
Yeah, my only thing with that is, I mean, I get what you're saying, and it could potentially affect players, but to me, it's like welcome to the league, right? It's a business, right?
Yeah. See,
so you got it. I mean, you got to figure it out at some point in time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say maybe for Evan Fournier, but you got to think for players like OB and IQ, they were drafted here. So this is the only team that they know, only city they know professionally. So I don't know, maybe Evan Fournier will probably just brush it off, but OB getting traded from here, I think that would be a big deal to him.
Now, are you talking like in Jaylen Brown type of upset? Like, why would they even include me in a trade where you feeling like the team is being disloyal after all you put in, the work you put in, or are you talking more about just being shook? Like just the reality of that, wow, even though they didn't trade me yet, I'm, these dreams of finishing out and playing in New York, I get real close to being traded. So is it more about them being shook, or is it more about them feeling like, how could they slighted?
Right. I think it depends on who you're talking about. Like take Evan Fournier, for example. To me, it seemed like he should be slighted. Like he just signed with the team last year, had a good year, like individual wise, broke the team record. Now all of a sudden his name is in trade talks.
Right.
When it comes to Obi, he was a first round pick, top 10, 2 years, trade talks. So maybe IQ or somebody like Deuce it'll just be, like lingering, like you said, it won't be just a shock. But maybe Evan Fournier and Obi will probably feel a little bit more slighted than them because of that.
Okay. Let me just read this super chat by Paris Doug. Appreciate the super chat. D Rose is out. Tibbs on last leg. If he doesn't play all the youth, then he goes. Leon wants to see what he has this year to complete our final squad. I don't know if the squad will ever be complete or final. And then also Paris Duggar, appreciate the super chat. No more than D Rose, 28 Grimes, and 5 pivot. I mean, that's basically 3 players and and 5 picks. But I guess in here, you're holding on to IQ and
Obi.
and Obi.
Yeah.
Right.
And Cam.
Oh, and Cam too. Can't forget Cam.
Yeah. This came in as a comment. So let me ask the panel. I want Donovan, but I want our young core more. I want Donovan more, but I will let the panel answer the question, see what they feel.
I can be real quick. I'd rather have Spider more than our young core, especially. Well, who is RJ part of that young core that he's talking about?
IQ, what is it? IQ, Obi, Grimes, right?
If it's just those 3, and maybe you could slide Cam in there, I would definitely choose Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
Oh.
I mean, Spider. You definitely want more than the young core, but you know, when you talk about combining the 7 and 8 picks, then I need to choose what the players are. I need to choose who the players are. You know what I mean? Like to the last super chat, like if I'm giving you D Rose and Fournier, I'm feeling a lot better about the 7 picks because with D Rose injuries and not playing and being able to use IQ as the backup point guard, and you know keeping Grimes as a backup shooting guard, I feel good about that. I feel better about that than giving you Grimes, giving you IQ, giving you OB. You know, like part of what the strength of the core is right now, whether we want to be super excited about this season or not, part of the strength of the team right now is the balance and the 1 through 10, the strength of the 1 through 10 versus the 1 through 5. So, you know, yeah, I'd love to have Mitchell, but I'd also love to have a balance on my team too. And
But take the picks out though. Just the young core and Spider. Take the picks out.
Yeah, but again, to the last super chats deal suggestion, giving Rose and Fournier up and keeping the core, keeping the OBs, keeping the IQs, keeping the Grimes and the Cams makes me feel more comfortable with getting the deal done.
Right. But this chat, that's cool for that question. But Easy P asked, do we want Donovan more or the young core?
I would like Spider more.
Right.
But there's a lot of the RJ chatter is starting to make its way into the public now that they wanted RJ.
Well, I wouldn't. That's
that's a different.
That would make it a harder. That makes it a harder question. If you RJ.
But if I make audible to you, Queen, if they're saying, well, we want RJ and we'll take less picks, you know, does that make it something that is more worth entertaining?
I don't care about the picks. I don't have an issue. I don't care about the picks.
And part of my reason for saying no is RJ at the very least, he's 6'7", right? So now we're losing our young guy, right? We're losing more height. We're losing more. Now, granted, he has a long way to go, but we're losing some defensive ability. Yeah. Like I'd much if they talk about RJ, I'm keeping RJ in the young core.
But if they take RJ, it's gonna be less. I don't think they're gonna take RJ, Grimes, IQ, Obi. So if RJ is included, some of those other young players will not be included.
I mean,
that makes it a tougher.
As long as they listen, we can't give up RJ and Cam. I'll tell you that. We need somebody.
Cam is gone anyway, but it might be. But this is what makes it a hard decision, because of the fact that RJ is coming up for a max or near max contract, and in my opinion, he hasn't shown enough to be that player, right? So this does make it so now if RJ is included and you're able to keep an IQ and an OB, now you have money to. Why wouldn't we have? We wouldn't have money. I think we would.
We would still have to maneuver because you got to think. RJ's contract extension. I'm assuming we're going over the cap to sign him. So if he's gone, that money is not available to go over the cap to use somewhere else.
Correct. But the money you sent out, the money you getting for Donovan Mitchell's $30 million, you sending that out. So are we already over the cap even without RJ?
With bringing Mitchell in, with Brunson's contract, with Randall's contract.
Just right now. Are we over?
Right now we're at 131 million.
So we are over the cap.
I don't know what the cap. What's the cap?
I think it's 122.
122.
I want to say. So then we are. So then that doesn't really help us. It helps in terms of luxury tax, but not in terms of
the The exact cap is $123.655 million for the season coming up.
So yeah, that doesn't. We can't use that money if we, you know what I mean, by moving RJ and matching whatever salary with him to get Mitchell, we won't be able to use that money that we were going to spend to go to extend RJ, because that player is, you know what I mean. We unless we're extending Cam in its place.
Right.
I know. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying like.
But you might. But you might, because you can't. You're not going to have any cap. Any cap.
But remember.
But let me bring it to Sim.
I'm sorry.
Do you want Donovan or the young core? And does that change if that young core now includes RJ, as DJ showed?
So RJ is going to
Knicks.
Well, let's do it without RJ. Do you want Donovan over the young core? But if you include RJ, does that change things?
So definitely without RJ, I want Donovan over the young core. Right? Okay. So if RJ is staying with this team, I want Donovan to be here with Donovan Mitchell, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson. Right? If RJ is going, man, I think it changes the outlook of the team then, right? Because it's still not that core that you're hoping to try to put together. I mean, you got three of them, but I think, I think RJ is a big piece to that core, you know, and I don't think, I don't know if I want to, honestly, I don't know if I want to go there then, because, Cam is an unknown still, right? And so I know people can say, well, Cam can step in there, but we don't know because he's an unknown. You know what I mean? And now we're searching again for, another guy to be into that spot where, you can just rock with, like I was saying before, you can just rock with these guys and see how they grow, and start to make moves from there. I will say this: if RJ remains with the team and you bring in Donovan Mitchell, I still consider Donovan Mitchell part of the young core.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So you would still have a young core, I think. You know what I mean? Because, Donovan Mitchell's 25, Jalen Brunson 25, RJ 22, Mitchell Robinson's 25 or 24, 25, right? And then whoever, so that's a young group of guys right there. And Julius Randle, 27. So that's still a pretty young group of guys, that haven't reached their prime, that you can build with. And then you'd still have a few young guys coming off the bench. You know what I mean? But if it includes RJ, I think that changes a lot.
It does. Even if you keep in an IQ and even an OB, because those guys are still unproven as well. Like, you don't really know. I mean, we don't know what RJ is going to be either, but I think I've seen more of RJ than I have of IQ and OB. Like, I feel more comfortable at least with RJ's floor.
Right. Exactly.
Than I do with OB or IQ. Right. Even though like if this is OB's floor, my preference is RJ's floor.
Right.
Right.
Actually. So I do think it changes things. And quite frankly, I just think if we were to make the trade for Donovan Mitchell, I just think RJ would fit perfect in that lineup, because you need an all-around guy, and that's RJ. He is an all-around guy. He can do a little bit of everything. He may not do any one thing great just yet, but he does a lot of things really well. Actually,
So Swiss Army knife.
Right.
Swiss Army. Okay, yeah, Swiss Army knife. Then somebody else. Oh, let me just read this super chat. Parish Duggar. We're getting Donovan because RJ hasn't become that guy, but it's okay. He's been in the league 3 years. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, Paul George wasn't that guy in 3 years, in his third year in the season. A lot of guys weren't that guy after 3 years in the season in their career. I think that's totally fine. I don't think we're getting Donovan because RJ isn't that guy. We're getting Donovan because we don't have that guy on this roster. It's not just RJ. We just don't have the guy.
For the record, Paul George was an All-Star his third season. For the record,
but was he that guy though?
he was that guy on his team.
No.
He was 22, and he was an All-Star.
Right, but when I say that guy, meaning that's your clutch guy. That's your guy. I think
He might not be that guy yet. Still,
he may still. Right. Some people say he's not that guy still. Right. You're right. You're right. Yeah. Shout out to Quays Tranks. I don't know if I said that right. Knicks not getting any other top 15 player. Look at the list and tell me who. Also, half of the top players are 30 and up. And I think this is what makes this a bit unique, because I've heard on Twitter and I've heard other people say, hold on to your assets. There will be another all-star coming along. One, we don't know that. Two, I'm not sure if the front office has that luxury of just waiting 3, 4, 5, 6 years for when another one will come loose. But the second thing is, how many times does a star or potential star becomes available that's only been in the league 5 years, who's 25 years old and already has made 3 all-star teams? So
wants to come to the team.
And wants to come to the team.
Yeah. And doesn't have an injury history.
And doesn't have an injury history, right?
Zion.
Right. Because I think we would have. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, that's a great point. Like that's all the reasons why you got to get the deal done, and why you give up a Guinness World Record number of draft picks.
And this is why, for me, I'm okay with paying a little extra, because I do think that where your franchise is makes a difference, right? When Milwaukee made that trade for Holiday, they were one piece away, so they paid at least what I considered was a big price for him. Mm-hmm. I think the Knicks, just given where we've been historically, I think it's okay to give up just a little bit to just kind of get some traction and get on the road and kind of leave that history behind. And we're doing a bit of that already, and move on. But can anybody remember, and I'll get to you, Tony, the last time somebody this young has become available? Because even now, Kevin Durant is available, but he's 34. Who knows how long he has left?
Carmelo.
How old was Melo when he got here?
Same age as Donovan.
25.
Oh, I thought he was 26.
Okay, all right.
26.
But still hadn't really reached his prime and had experienced some success.
How old was LeBron when he went to Miami?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe. I had to look that.
Where he did 4 years. 4 years in Cleveland?
Something like that. Remember, he came out of high school, so he was
18.
Yeah.
22, wow.
22, 23-ish, maybe. I don't know.
And when Melo came to the Knicks, he was 26.
Mm-hmm.
He was 26. Okay. All right. So does that...
But his 8th year in the season, in the league.
He was in the league 8 years? And he was, wow.
He was another one, 18.
Yeah, he came in like 18, 19 too. 21 years, Syracuse. Yep.
He put in a lot of time. Does Donovan's age and where the Knicks have been historically and what they have the opportunity to do you feel comfortable giving up a little extra? Or do you feel like, no, we should just operate as any other team would, regardless of our history and regardless of what we're trying to do?
I said get him. Usually when we do trade for stars, they're usually past their prime. So yeah, he's hasn't even hit his prime yet. So I say get him here.
Yeah, I think that's when, like you said, Queen. You want to pay a little bit more, but what exactly would you consider
the line?
The line, and then what's not the line that you don't want to cross, but like, what's the line of where you're saying, all right, this is what any team would say is kind of the ballpark of where we should be. It should be, no more than 5 picks. And then, all right, so we're saying we're going to do more than 5 picks. We're going to give 6 or 7 picks. And, because the players are pretty much the players, whatever. They can take whoever. But I think the picks is what is going to be a large factor in the deal from the front office perspective. I think they are going to give more weight to it than most of us have been in our talks about it. But the age, the talent, the all-stars, the go-to clutch player, I mean, this is like something that comes around once every 50 years. So, you're going to pay a little bit more for it for sure.
Sam, let me just read this. Johnny David, with all due respect, don't feel like we'll have to wait so long for other opportunities. We can't go out on fool's gold. Had enough of that with Kimba and Kimba doesn't even.
Yeah, that ain't the same standards, bro.
That's not the
Johnny. No, Johnny.
Yeah, I don't think that's the same. Sam?
Somebody's mad we didn't draft them.
Right.
I'm sorry, I lost the question.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, are you willing to give up a little extra for somebody that's in their prime and has had the success that he's had the first 5 years of his career?
I am. I'm willing to give up a little bit extra. Like you said, given and looking at where the Knicks have been over the years, you might have to give up a little bit extra, and then also, especially like when it comes to signing players, you have to look at the market that you're coming to, right? Nothing's going to be easy coming to the Knicks. It's always going to be a little bit tougher. And so that may mean that you either have to pay a little bit more for a player, right? One, you might have to pay a little bit more just because the taxes and all that kind of stuff that has to do with New York. You know what I'm saying? It's going to hit their pockets a little bit more than going to someplace else. That makes a difference. You know what I mean? And then just the whole, listen, wherever you go outside of New York, and I lived in Maryland for 20-something years. I've been to all kinds of different states. I don't care what nobody says. And it's still like, I think it's changing a little bit, but it's still like this. People hate New Yorkers. And they don't care what part of New York you're from. I'm like, yo, I'm from like upstate New York. It don't matter. It's all the same to me. I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about. Right? They don't even know, but they just have this thing towards New Yorkers. And I think that goes over into the sports world too. You know what I'm saying? And so it's always going to be a little bit harder. So yeah, I'm willing to pay a little bit more to bring in a player that's in his prime that's going to be a game changer.
Definitely. Shout out to Paris Duggar, Kat, Zion, Brandon Ingram, Jimmy Butler, Jaylen Brown. All can become disgruntled with their situations. This package could get a KD. First of all, I don't want a KD. I got to be honest. KD is 34 years old. It gives us a short window to have to win a championship. I like having the longer window with somebody who's 20, 25 years old. It gives us an opportunity to build a team around him and not feel pressed to go out and like the Lakers are. I think the Lakers feel pressed to try to take advantage of the few years that LeBron has left, and they may be willing to do some things, to make their future tough, just so that they can get a team now around LeBron. And the other thing I will say is, yes, anybody can become disgruntled, but is that something you want to wait for? And when that time comes, you still gonna have to put a package together. And the longer you hold on to assets, they can grow and get better, but they can also get worse. Right? Sure. There's nothing to say that Obi, IQ, and Grimes may not level off. I think the appeal of a draft pick, the appeal of a young player is that a lot of people can imagine what they might become. Mm-hmm. the more years you have in the league, the less imagination and the more actual, you can see,
Got evidence.
you got evidence, the more evidence you have. So their stock can go up or go down. Somebody else wanted to say something?
I guess I'll be the guy that gets the tomatoes, because I'm not gonna. I feel like there has to be a line. So that throwing in the
We all
extra.
agree with that. Oh, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I don't want to compete against ourselves. You know what I mean? If we gotta throw in the extra but to get it done, because we're competing with other offers, then that changes things for me. But and it sucks because there's no way to really know. I doubt they have to or willingly divulging what the offer is that they got from such and such team, unless they really want to make the deal with us. Like, otherwise, why even do that? If another team got a better offer than what they feel like our offer is, just take it, right? Don't come back. They're not gonna come back to us and say, "Hey, you gonna throw in that extra pick or no?" So
This is what I will say to that.
it's tough.
This is what I will say to that about competing with another team. Sometimes you have to, throw in something extra because the team is not going to do it. Even if there's no other team competing, the team is not taking that offer. So people say competing against themselves. Sometimes you're competing against the
Right.
the other team that's saying, I'm not taking that offer.
Right.
Whether there's another team offering less or more, I'm not taking that offer. To me, and we've talked about this before, the only thing I'm concerned about is, do we have some assets left over to make another move?
Yeah.
Even if it's 8 picks, if we got 3 left, I'm good. If it's
Right.
4 players, we got 5 players left, I'm good. It's not so much what we're giving up, is do we have enough left to continue to build the team, Sam?
And you know what? We as fans might look at and say, this team didn't offer as good of a package to Utah or to whatever team. There may be something about a player. They may say, well, this player actually fits what we're trying to do a little bit better than this package. Even though we get more picks, maybe this guy looks like the better talent.
That's true.
We think this fits better. So from the fan perspective, they're like, oh man, the Knicks could have got this player for that. But they were going to give up this, and Utah still went with that. So it may not sometimes, and this is not just the Utah trade, but sometimes, it's about the fit of the players coming back, the connection between the players coming back. Maybe 2 guys played together before and had success. Like, all that kind of stuff, I think, goes into trades too, not just the monetary value or the number of draft picks and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I think that's a part of it. When you're looking at, was a trade, how much is given up during a trade and all that kind of stuff, So I think people have to think about that as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hartwell, appreciate you. Sometimes you got to pay more for something you need. And yeah, I mean, as long as
It's called inflation.
Yeah. And
or supply and demand.
I was going to say
should
supply and demand, but inflation works too.
because
and economics.
yeah,
Knicks and
economics, right? And because a team, the Utah, whoever might be really interested in a certain player because they feel like he fits, but they're willing to listen to taking more assets. You might be like, well, dang, maybe we really need to throw in some more assets because they like this player that's over here in Miami. They really like this guy. So in order for us to pull off this trade, we might have to sweeten that pot.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. You know what I mean? And again, I'm just talking because it's tough. We don't know if we're competing against another team or not. You know what I mean? All they got to do is they could come with a fake offer. I don't know if there's a checks and balance system where you could go back and say, hey, Miami, y'all really going to give them this, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it works like that. So they could be just blowing steam and saying, yeah, Miami said they'll give us such and such, and they never even talked to Miami. So we don't really know. I guess what it really boils down to is the comfort. Don't go out of your comfort zone to make that move. You know what I mean? If you're uncomfortable with it, walk away. If you're comfortable with it, I'm with you. I'm a Knicks fan. Go get him.
Shout out to Brooklyn Butch. Appreciate the super chat. Ainge suckered 2 new owners. We should not be the third. I'm not worried about other owners and what everybody is so focused on Ainge and what Ainge is trying to do. I trust our front office. You know what I mean? They not fools. So I'm not even worried about Danny Ainge. But let me just do this real quick.
I hate Danny Ainge. I hated him as a player. I still hate him. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, let's just get that out the way.
We're gonna talk about Danny Ainge because I've always hated this guy. And I'm gonna continue to hate this guy. All right.
He was a pushover as a player, and he's not a pushover now.
he was a piss pot as a player, and I hated him. He's a piss pot as a GM, and I'm gonna continue to talk about it. He's gonna be a talking point because for this deal. It's hard to not get. It's not hard not to get into your Julius Randle bag and be emotional with this guy, Danny Ainge, man. Come on,
he's doing his best for his team. I mean,
it's Danny Ainge. It's the Celtics. It's all that history with this guy. You know what I'm saying? So he's like the last guy I want to feel like I'm being finessed, but let it be Yuri. Let it be.
I don't want to get finessed by
Pat Riley. Danny Ainge and Pat Riley. I can't get finessed by either one of those two guys. The rest of the league is okay. I'd rather get 7 picks than anybody else.
1804 to Sam. What exactly is extra? I'm sorry. If it's 8 picks, we fools and destroyed our ability to make any future move. But hold up. What if it's 8 picks and we haven't destroyed our ability to make other moves? And this is what I'm saying with the fans. Are you guys getting caught up in the number? What if we got 16 picks and we giving up 8? You understand what I'm saying? So it's not just the 8 picks, it's what do we have left? 8 of 20? Have at it. 8 of 16? Have at it. 8 of 9? Totally different story. Totally different story. So that's the question. We're focusing on how many picks. I'm focusing on how many we're going to have left. The Knicks have 11 first rounders. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So 7. Remember, 3 of them we just picked up on draft, on draft night.
So what's the cutoff?
I'm good with 7. If we still have 4 left.
So
I'm good because those 3 are protected picks that we picked up expressly for this trade anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So when I say cutoff, so you say 7. So if they say 8, you out.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not 7, really.
For me, it's 7.
Right. Okay.
To me, so for me, I'm always looking at the picks that we picked that we brought in. Right. We acquired picks, and we acquired picks for a reason, right? So that we could use them in a trade. So when we look at it, our picks, the picks that we own, the picks that we just naturally have a right to, you're talking about 4 of them.
4 of them, correct.
Right?
Right.
And then the way that the CBA is set up, I keep saying this, you can only trade a pick every other year. So you're still going to have picks. Right. You're still going to have picks. And this team has shown the ability to bring in more picks. And of course, that's a hypothetical whether or not they can bring in more picks, and we're relying on something that may happen. But that's just like everybody else that's saying, well, you can get another star in the future because somebody might become disgruntled. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? But I know we got one right here that we can get right now. Right. You know what I mean? I'm just not as worried about the picks.
Because those other picks too, we can only do 4 anyway, correct?
Right.
Because that's what I was gonna say. Even if we did 4 out of our 8 of our own, we can't use those other 4 that we didn't trade down the line. The only way we could do that is actually drafting the player and then trading the player. And then even with that becomes the one player of that particular draft year. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you could do that for those 4 picks down the line. Those will have to be individual trades down the line of the player that we drafted. So it does kind of empty that cupboard a little bit. You know what I mean? Like that, in the sense that they're not tradable assets. They're still assets that we own that we can use for ourselves, or they're assets that we can trade once we make the trade as a player, not as a pick. Once we make the pick, and those have to be individual moves every 2 years. So
Yeah. Okay.
I think
But
this
okay,
roster,
it's only four of our picks.
I know. I'm just pointing out the details.
Yeah, it's just
pointing out
four
the
of our
details.
picks. Those other 3 picks, just like we got those 3 picks, we took 1 pick and turned it into 3. We can take another pick and turn it into 2, or turn it into,
Right.
So remember, the 7 picks aren't all ours. It's 3 protected picks that we got from someone from somewhere else.
and one from Dallas. But I think this is when.
But Brooklyn Butch, this is what we're saying. But you misunderstanding the whole point. This is what we just said. We're going to have enough to continue to make other moves. So the picks we're giving up isn't every pick that we have. So I agree with that. I want to have picks left over, assets left over. It doesn't matter to me whether it's a pick or a player, right? We will. We will still have players and picks left over to improve the team. And I think this is where the Knicks fan base is a bit off and think that we're giving up the house. We're going to restock. We're not going to be able to make any other move. That's not the case. Even if you gave up 7 picks, 3 of them wasn't even ours. They're protected. They're ours, of course, but they're protected picks from other teams.
Right.
We can't give up more than 4 picks of our own. We can't.
Right. And when you look at our roster, I mean, people
We wouldn't
forget
be drafting
those
them
first,
anyway.
those first round picks. You know, like if you trade Donovan Mitchell, if you trade for Donovan Mitchell, you're gonna give up some players, right? You're gonna need to draft a couple of players. But I can guarantee you this. Let's say you gave up 2 players in the trade, right? And you gave up a bunch of, let's just assume you gave up 8 draft picks and 2 players, IQ and Obi. Let's say that, right? Which you're going to have to give up more than that because you got to make the salaries match too. So maybe a Evan Fournier goes, however, whatever, right? But we gave up 2 young players, okay? So in 2023, let's say we don't have a draft pick in 2023, right? What's going to happen? The Knicks are going to pick up a player, an unsigned rookie, somebody out the G League that's still 23, 24 years old to come be part of the team. And then in 2024, the Knicks will draft a player. And then in 2025, the Knicks will do the same thing. They'll find a player, that's undrafted or out of the G League or whatever it is to come to the team. There will be ways. There are more ways today to get talent besides just the draft. And I think we got to realize that. It's just more ways.
Just like we've been doing. How did we get to
I was just gonna say, don't put it past the that we use.
David L, I'm not stupid. I do understand. I understand. We will be able to make other moves. That's what you don't understand.
We definitely can maneuver those 11 second-round picks and maybe convert them into 2 or 3 first-round picks.
You know what I'm saying?
Late first-round picks.
It's ways to bring players in, man.
Or you will see second-round guys like Mitchell Robinson, Jericho Sims, drafted
who our organization has done a good job.
By the new management that is scouting and drafting better.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are confused. I think a lot of people are confused thinking that the draft picks are all consecutive. And they're not.
Right. And
I think that's the disconnect right there.
Right.
It's not 4 consecutive years that we're giving up first round picks.
And then once you trade Obi, let's say you trade Obi and IQ. Once you fill those 2 roster spots with 2 players, okay, let's assume they with 2 young players in 2023, let's assume they bring up a G League player and they sign that person to a roster spot. And then in 2024, you got your first round draft pick. After that, you don't have no more room.
Right? Because
your first round draft picks are they're guaranteed.
Yep.
That's guaranteed money. So where's it fit?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know,
and you can also improve your team with players. I get it that, you know, the picks that we have, we won't be able to put in a trade because we traded them. But okay,
Yeah.
those picks aren't going to be valuable anyway.
Right.
So I'm not going to make this trade because I'm not going to be able to trade the alternate trades that just the alternate year picks that we still have. That doesn't make sense to me. You can still move off of Randall if you ever wanted to. If another star became available, you can move off of RJ. If another star became available, you could turn around and move off of Brunson if another star became available. I think once you make the Donovan Mitchell trade, your players are going to be better, are going to be the ones you're going to use to get another star, not picks. Nobody's going to be interested in where the Knicks pick, even if you could trade those alternate year picks that we have. Who's interested in a pick in a 20 for a star in the 20s?
Right.
So those are not going to be valuable anyway. You're going to upgrade your team because Cam is still going to be left on the roster, or Fournier is going to be left on the roster. One of those. Randall is going to be left on the roster. RJ is going to be left on the roster. If you want another star, you're going to have to build. You're going to have to do it around them. Otherwise, if it's not a star, you're just doing little upgrades, you know, here and there.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I think you just said it best, Steph. You know, your players become the assets.
Your players.
You know what I mean? And I know people are thinking about, you know, we need those picks to trade later on. You know, I think your players become the assets. You know, you can find ways to work trades so that you're bringing in picks from other teams that go to, let's just say, the New Orleans Pelicans. We're going to trade Brandon Ingram, right?
Right.
You might be able to, you can work out a package, a 3-team, 4-team trade where you bring in draft picks to the New Orleans Pelicans. It's ways to get it done. You know what I'm saying? It's ways.
How are the other teams doing it?
Right. Exactly.
How are other teams upgrading their roster?
All these teams that don't have no draft picks and they're still upgrading their roster. You know, the Brooklyn Nets, they had no draft picks. They found a way to upgrade their roster. You know, after they signed KD and Kyrie, they found a way to bring in James Harden.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's ways to do it. It's ways to do it nowadays, man. You do have a phone call, Steph, if you want to get to a phone call.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Call. Oh, is that muted? Is that the one that's muted?
No. They should be able to hear you.
Okay. Caller, you on the air. What's your name and where you're from?
Salute. 3 capital S's, my sister. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Shout out to everybody rocking this orange and blue. Shout out to them 2 gents that's on this show rocking with y'all today. But more importantly, what I need to do is shout out to the lady, the Queen Step, a.k.a. the young Pam Grier. Shout out to Tony Crow, a.k.a. the young Richard Pryor. Shout out to Mr. Sim, a.k.a. the young Ron O'Neal, the Superfly. I say that because I'm going to speak for a whole lot of other people. I spoke to Hard Will the other day, and I'm going around telling everybody, yo, I appreciate y'all. We all appreciate y'all having these layouts, these podcasts, giving us a door to come in, to sit down, rock, voice our opinion, hang out around good people, entertain people that don't come up. We appreciate y'all having these shows so we can come sit down and rock with y'all. Salute to all 3 of y'all. So I wanted to, it's good I can knock out 3 at one time. Now I just got to holler at Freezy. But, you know, I'm going to be honest with y'all and tell y'all like straight like this. Yo, this is a make or break season for Mr. Tom, Mr. Ted, the double T. It's a make or break. Reason why we all know he got a 5-year contract, but he only had 3 years guaranteed. So now he don't roll out the 3-year guarantee. If y'all think Tom want to go out swinging and don't have somebody like Diamond on this team, you're bugging. I'm quite sure he knocking on that door, telling him to go get this dude, because this dude right here is gonna help me get to season 4. This dude gonna help me get to season 5. Without him, they can let me go. But all these little guys that we don't want to trade trade. No, we can get these type guys in the second round. A lot of these guys really are second picks, except for Obi Toppin. If you was noted to be in the first round and you slid back, that means they ain't see you as a first round pick, meaning like Grimes and them type guys like that. Quickly and all them type. He slid up and got picked early, but he really was a second round pick. We need to go get a guy that can go bring a guy and over here so we can match up with the other guy. We need an all-star caliber player, 25 years old, ain't even touched his prime yet, still got a young contract. He what, 136 million? He got 4 years left on the deal. We need this type player so when he do go to the all-star game, he can sit down and have a real conversation, not like Julius acting like he don't belong, don't want to talk and holler at nobody. Come here, let me holler at y'all and let y'all know what's going on. This is what's happening in the city. I need you to come over here. And he's a good locker room dude. And he don't get in no trouble. He don't cause no problem. You think if he caused problem, he'd have been blew that thing up at Danny Ainge. But now he's just playing his part, playing his position, and letting the great man above us all handle the situation. So some point in time, sooner or later, I believe it's going to happen. But we need to get this boy Donovan Mitchell, Spider-Man, over here in the garden and stop acting like we just want to play games and start feeling like we want to compete. Start feeling like, you know what I'm saying, we want to win some playoff games and try to work towards the Eastern Conference. You got to take those small steps to get somewhere. And Donovan is a small step to add on to this team. All them guys we want to hold on and beg to stay around here, none of them dudes can ever max out to have a career like Donovan Mitchell. I don't care who it is. If you're talking about Grind, you're talking about Quickly, you're talking about Obi, you're talking about Bridges, you're talking about Sims, none of that going to ever have a career. You can put them all together, ain't none of them going to have a career like Donovan. You know what I'm saying? So we need to go ahead and handle our business and do what they got to do. I'm tired of being a dinosaur. Madison Square Garden don't look like Madison Square Garden to me no more. It look like a museum. I'm looking so old the way I've been waiting on a championship run. When they had the championship when I was born in '68, I really didn't know and understand what they was doing. So I need to see me a championship going on, man. I'm sick and tired of this putting all my money towards the team, putting my money all towards these jerseys, putting my money all towards these hats, putting my money all towards these podcasts, putting my money in my hard work earned what I make every day to this right here. We not going nowhere. We're stuck, just like that movie Baby Boy. I told you, look at everybody around. Moving. We're stuck here being broke. Now it's time for us to start handling our business and start aiming towards a championship. If we ain't going to a championship, it's a failure year. I ain't talking about a play-in. Everybody talking about we going to make it to a play-in. What season you going to take? Nah, if we ain't playing towards a championship, that's all it is, a failure for a season. Championship or bust. Salute, 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 3 capital S's. Blessings to everybody. Continue to stay healthy and safe. Continue on masking up that thing that's still up out of here. It don't care where you're from, what city, what state, no country, no nothing where you're from. Continue on staying healthy and safe. Blessings and blessings. Salute, salute, salute.
Appreciate you.
Salute.
Yeah, I mean,
Yo, hold on for what?
I need to
Jay
get a drink.
Boogie could have called me Richard Roundtree or Isaac Hayes or something. I was hating a little bit. Now I mean, I got to be on here more. Now, Salute to Jay Boogie.
My man, Jay Boogie, be coming off, man.
yeah.
That's
I
what's
mean,
I'm just like, at least Richard Pryor's a legend.
Yeah, that's it.
right,
Hey,
right,
hey, yo,
right.
see, we got Ron O'Neal. I was over here hating. Now I'm saying,
Let me read these 2 super chats. I mean, I'll just say this. You know, you could, as a front office, you could set a franchise back by trading players who eventually go on to become a star, but you can also set the franchise back by passing on a star, and the players that you think are going to become something don't. And that sets the franchise back as well, because you can look and be like, wow, where would we have been had we pulled the trigger on that? You know, so it can happen both ways. And that's why the front office get paid the big bucks, because, you know, they have to make these decisions and there's a timeline. Like, we can sit here and wait 50 years for the next superstar to become available. The front office don't have that type of time. It doesn't mean they need to be reckless about it, but they are operating with a sense of urgency. Shout out to Mark Odom. Appreciate the super chat. Danny Ainge fleeced 2 teams, the Nets and Minnesota, because they were desperate. The Knicks aren't desperate enough to fall into his trap, which is why I don't understand why the fan base is getting all up in the roar. If the Knicks were going to give up 8 first-round picks or whatever, this trade would have been made already.
Yeah,
And this is what I'm saying. I trust the front office. When it's all said and done, whatever it is, they did their due diligence and felt that this was the best move for the Knicks. And
I think
shout
there's
out
a lot
to
of. I'm sorry, Steph.
this last super chat.
Okay.
So let's compare the New York Knicks with Cleveland, Atlanta, Charlotte, and Detroit. We cannot just give the farm away, Steph. Is there a scenario where it's too much? Well, I've answered this before. Every young core is not the same. Every young core is not the same. So if I'm sitting on Detroit's young core, I'm not making this move. You know, if I'm sitting on Mobley with Cleveland, I'm not making this move. If I got Atlanta and they got DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, I'm not making this move. Who are the Knicks sitting on? And that's the question I keep asking. Everybody is acting like build through the draft as if every draft class is equal. Grimes, Obi, and IQ, in my opinion, is not the same level of draft class as Detroit's, OKC's. You can even argue Orlando. It's not. So to me, I just feel like sitting on these players, this is not the core players to sit on, in my opinion. This is not the core players to be like, we need to hold on to them. Because like Jay Boogie said, in my opinion, I would be surprised if Obi, IQ, and Grimes had as many All-Star appearances in their entire career than Donovan Mitchell has had already in his first 5 years in the league. I would be surprised. And that's what I'm saying. Which young core are you sitting on? Everybody wants to build through the draft. That's great. But you got to hit on one of these players. And I'm not sitting here wasting my time hoping that an IQ or Obi or Grimes hit. It's possible. But what's the chances that they become perennial all-stars? What's the chances? So that's all I'm saying to the fan base. Who are you sitting on waiting to pop? It's not these guys, in my opinion, that you allow a Donovan Mitchell to fall through. And that may be where we disagree. You guys may think out of those three guys, one of them is going to become an all NBA player. And if you believe that, I totally understand why you don't want to go for Donovan Mitchell, because you feel like you got one already. I just disagree with that.
I agree with that.
That's why I threw that remix earlier about RJ, because I think that RJ is someone that could potentially hit a couple of All-Stars. And if I'm betting my money on it, you know, of course we'll never know for sure unless it happens. But if I'm betting my money on it, Ainge is trying to get RJ in this deal.
I mean, I did hear something about it. I'm just they were willing to pay, you know, he's due for an extension.
That's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, that'd be weird. But I do think
Is
it's a
it
lot of
though?
pressure.
It's three. I mean, it's 3 years younger, right? 4 years younger. RJ.
22.
22.
Like 3 years younger.
3 or 4. Because
So
26.
that may weigh into the option of why they, if you know, if that is true, of why they want to go that route. Because now you're bringing in a younger guy. Let's see, maybe they feel like in a year or two he becomes Donovan or better. I'm not saying that's accurate, you know what I mean? But if they feel that way, that would be a reason.
And they can afford them too.
Yeah.
And then you can afford them. It's younger. You could bring younger guys in with them to continue to grow. You know what I mean? So I mean, I don't think it's
next season.
I don't think it's far fetched as to say like, oh well, why would they want to pay him? I mean, maybe and we don't know what RJ is gonna demand or command. So they may feel like, hey, we could get him and we don't gotta max him. They may feel like, hey, we could get him for 130. You know what I mean? 120. I don't know. We don't know. So,
right.
And you know, you trade for a guy like that coming from this situation. RJ may say, you know what? Yeah, I'll take the 120. This team wants me. You know what I mean? As opposed to the team that drafted me and traded me. They didn't want me. This team showed they wanted me. They gave up a start for me. Yeah, I'll take the 120 and build here. You know what I mean? So it's possible. That's all I'm saying. It's possible.
Yeah,
I prefer to keep RJ anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible. I still don't. I think if they trade Donovan Mitchell, they don't want to commit long term to anybody right now, unless it's like, a bona fide star. I don't think they want to commit long term to anyone who is, that is, still kind of unproven as to where he is and what he's going to be. You know what I mean? I think they want a clean slate, because once they trade Donovan Mitchell, assuming that they don't bring back longer contracts, you're talking about their next longest contract ends, I think, next season. You know what I'm saying? So I think they would want a clean slate, because RJ is still such an unknown. I think they would want a clean slate.
I mean, it also, and again, I'm not pushing it. I'm just playing devil's advocate. They also, I would think, want somebody that they could like showcase to their fan base.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a young guy here under contract for 4 years. You know what I mean? Now this is the start of our rebuild.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, we're starting from scratch. I mean, the organization may want it, but the fan base, you know what I mean? Granted, it's not New York fan base.
Yeah,
but they gonna want something. You know what I mean?
I think that guy comes in the 2023 draft. You know what I'm saying? I think that's where they get the people that they're gonna showcase. You know what I mean? And they may have 2, 3, 4 picks in that draft. You know what I'm saying? Where they're like, we got a group of guys that we're showcasing to you. You know what I'm saying? And they'll probably, if they trade Donovan Mitchell, they'll probably come out and say, listen, this is our plan. You know what I'm saying? We got all these draft picks. We're going to build through the draft. Give us a year to get into the draft, and then, see what we're going to do.
Right.
And I think that, again, I'm sorry, they're not New York fan base, but don't sleep on Utah's fan base. You know what I mean? Like the love and the support and then the anger from losing the guy that's on Charlotte. Was on Boston, Haywood. You know what I mean? Like they love that kid. You know what I mean? Like they went crazy when he left them. You know what I mean? So
but the guy from that still Knicks fans had on the NBA Report said that they know how they build in Utah.
Okay.
That they build through the draft. So I think that they know that they're not going to get a free agent to sign there. So that's why they're prioritizing the picks. But I just want to make a point. First of all, Richard Sheffield, I'm not shaky. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I do this. I may get excited. I may get demonstrative, but I'm not nervous at all. And this is what I want to say. I disagree, Steph, you're off. And I see this a lot on Twitter. If you disagree, you disagree. But a person is not off because they have a different point than you. Like I hear people say, anybody who still likes Randall must love being in an abusive relationship. We just have different ideas. You don't have to insult a person or down a person because they disagree with you. This is why we're here, to share our opinions. So Hawkeye, you disagree with me? Leave it at that. I'm not off, because the point that I'm making is consistent with how I'm understanding things. Your point is consistent with how you're understanding and what you want to do. Totally fine. We disagree. We don't have to be disagreeable. We don't have to be insulting. Who would want this? Anybody who wants to give up the young core is just an impatient person. All of this, we just disagree. That's it. Just say you disagree. The rest of the stuff, we don't need, or I don't need it.
And if you could be respectful, every Wednesday we do the crossover. We open the link out for the chat. Come in, voice your opinion. Voice your opinion and give your take, and we could, you know what I mean, and we could do it professionally or in a professional manner instead of putting insults and things like that in the comment.
You
all
just
speak
disagree.
opinions
Cool.
up here, man.
You call in too.
And you can call in. And Hawkeye is fine. The chat, the live chat is a little behind. When you said my bad stuff, it's cool. It's no love lost or whatever. I mean, I get bullets in the chat too. People disagree, say I don't know what I'm talking about. It's all good. It's not personal. but I just see that a lot. What are you talking about?
Or just throw tomatoes.
Right.
yeah, throw some tomatoes.
Or just
Throw
throw some
tomatoes.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, we started off should the Knicks stay pat or continue to pursue the trade, but basically it went on the trade.
Yeah,
Right.
For good standing pat. It went on whether or not we should make the trade or not, which is just totally cool. I didn't mean to stop the flow, fellas. So
No, that needed to be said.
That needed to be said. Not only for one person, but for anybody else. There's a way to say what you got to say, and
I see it a lot, especially with Randall. Oh, y'all must love to be. Somebody said you must love to be in abusive relationships. If you want anybody who want Randall on this team, don't know basketball. We just disagree. It doesn't mean that you don't know basketball because you disagree with somebody.
That's one thing. Knicks fans think, like, every Knicks fan think they're the smartest person in the room. You know what I'm saying? So like they got all the answers. They know it all. Listen, right. we none of us got all the answers. We giving our perspective, like Steph said, and everybody's perspective counts.
Right.
Right. My daughter's not here, so I am the smartest person in this room.
Hey man, it's a small victory, Tony. It's a small victory.
Right.
Yeah, I'm the only person in my room except two dogs. So I hope I'm the smartest person in the room. If I ain't, that's a problem.
You good.
But listen, I respect the chat because you guys help me adjust my take sometimes. I definitely, I listen to those on the panel, of course. I read the comments underneath the videos or the chat. I mean, the shows, and then I read the chat comments, and your takes evolve over time. But this one hasn't. I don't think this is the young core to sit on. I don't think that's gonna.
I mean, you gotta think about it. The other teams that you talked about, like Detroit, Cleveland, they're not in trade talks with Utah for a reason. They're not giving up their young core for Donovan Mitchell.
Right. And the fact that the Knicks is entertaining it lets us know, that they're willing to give up, if not all of them, some of them.
Right.
Yeah, I just find it hard to have, like, to open that discussion when you talk about the young core. Like, the young core can't be the backup players. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
That's what I'm talking about.
So that's Mr. Cornerstone.
I didn't even think about that take. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, how can we not be including RJ as a potential inclusion in the deal, just for the fact? I mean, if I'm the other team, like, RJ has more potential than all the other three players, so. I mean, it has to be at least on the table for a conversation, if not for the Knicks, at least for us.
Right. That's a good point. Our young core is second team.
Right.
But many would say that they're second team because the coach is not starting.
I was just about to say that.
Man, listen, I can't see IQ starting anyplace else. So, maybe OB on a handful of bad teams, and definitely not Grimes. So, nah.
Yeah. Let me read this super chat. Shout out to Bobby Santiago. It hasn't come up on this side. The city is starving for the Knicks to be a major contender. Too many times have played with the notion of the Knicks are in on a trade, then nothing happens. Something has to give.
I understand.
This one feels a little different, doesn't it?
Yeah. Just because it's going on so long. Yeah, but I see what he's saying, though. Makes sense. I think it is what it is. A lot of people keep on talking about Danny Ainge getting over on us, but how much pressure do you think Danny Ainge has to do this deal? because it's not like Spider wants to sit for the season. I don't think they're going to pull like a Sixers with Ben Simmons and not trade him all season. Like he has to have a little bit of pressure too on their side.
And if they're gonna play hardball and hold on to Donovan, then they have to do something to better the roster around them. Like I don't think you bring him, you keep him there, you play him, and expect to still get those ping pong balls in your favor. You know what I mean? Like he may not get you in the playoffs, but he'll win you enough games to where you won't be the lottery favorite either.
But Tom, at this point, how can you play him? Period, though. Like, why would he want to play for you after this? Like, his time in Utah is over.
Yeah, he requested the deal, though. He requested the deal. That's different than the team saying they wanted to get rid of him.
Did he though?
No, I thought he didn't request the deal.
Did
he came out and
I
said
don't
that.
think he requested.
I believe he said something like Sim said. I don't know if you said it live, but I think he might have requested it quietly. You know what I mean? In the office with the door closed,
like the Kyrie request.
Well, that came out. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's ever come out that actually the exact opposite has come out. Donovan Mitchell has not requested a trade.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? So,
smoking.
I mean, I don't disagree.
The coach left. He was not happy with that. He made that statement very, very clear. He's a quality young man, so he's not going to be the type that requests a trade publicly. He sat in the back office. They did the Gobert deal. He's like, you know what? Yeah, get me out of here too. Yeah, and that's why he's keeping his mouth closed.
Yeah,
he's just letting the deal happen.
Yeah, I think regardless if it's with us or anybody else, I think his time in Utah is done. Like it would have to be for me.
I think so too. I think it's time
It's
to
over.
do.
I agree, but I don't agree that it's a definitive thing that he gets moved before the start of the season.
I get that, but that's what I'm saying. That means they're going to the Sixers route. They're just not playing him, not trading him, not nothing.
Appreciate
that's
you.
That's a hard stance right there if you're doing that.
Show and chat on fire piece. The chances of them bringing them into to training camp, I would put at less than 15%.
Right. Yeah.
Less than 15%.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
So you think they sit them or send them home or
No. They
I'm
trade.
saying,
Yeah.
you think?
I think the trade is going to get. I think the trade is going to be.
I do think it becomes more pressure for them to move him the closer to off season we get to the season, but he's also under contract for 4 years. I mean, it's the same. Do you feel the same way with KD, being that he formally requested the trade? Do you think they?
I'm not sure about that, but Utah has kind of put themselves in this position, and they hired a young coach, a first-year coach. You really trying to bring
on the wall
to training camp with a first-year coach, all of that drama? I think you might even want to take one less
draft pick. I mean,
before you do that,
then maybe that's part of the Knicks chess match. You know what I mean? The closer you get to that start of training camp, you know what I mean? We may be able to remove some of these assets. I don't think that. I think that's a very valid point. I agree, but at the same time, I think there's still a chance that if they don't come to terms, both sides, like, let me ask you this: if they can't find the deal with us, do you think that makes it more viable for them to look wherever they have to move them to?
Yes.
So I think this, and this is just my opinion. Obviously, things come out, the talks have stalled and this and that. I honestly think it's more like this. The Knicks and Utah, they know what the Knicks are willing to give, right? And so they're like, okay, I know what you're willing to give. Let me go out and see if I can find a better offer. And Leon Rosenham is like, here's what we're willing to give. And they may have even came up like they got things like both teams said, okay, if I can't find a better offer, we'll do this.
Yeah, we'll talk later.
Right, we'll talk later. You know what I'm saying? And then they go out, try to find a better offer, then they may come back to the Knicks. We know you guys got it. Are you willing to do better than this? You know what I'm saying?
Is there honor system in that? Like, do you trust Ainge in that
But
scenario?
I don't think it has to be an honor system because they know that the Knicks have more assets. You know what I'm saying? So they'll be like, okay, we got this from the Knicks. This one's a little bit better. The Knicks still got 3 draft picks that they can give us. Let's go back to the Knicks and find out if they're willing to give up off of these draft picks because now there's some real competition against them. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I kind of feel like it is. So not that it's stalled. I think Utah knows where the Knicks are. And now they're out there trying to see if they can get a better package to put pressure on the Knicks to get more from the Knicks. Right. And if the Knicks aren't willing to give more, then they'll go with a package that, is better for them. Right. You know what I'm saying? I just think that's where it is right now. I don't know if it's stalled that they're not talking. I think they know where each other stands, and Utah's trying to find a better package.
He's going to talk about. I said what I said.
Right.
I said what I said. This is what we're willing to give you. When you're ready to accept this offer, hit my line.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Good luck getting a better package.
That part.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. I think that's exactly where it is.
Right.
Yep. Go find you a better package.
Right. And if he doesn't get the deal done, you just have a disgruntled star on your roster that's not going to play. Like I don't see Utah doing that.
Right.
Either.
It's kind of like those stores. You go to a store and they're like, if you find a better package, we'll match it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You find a better price, we'll match it. I think it's kind of like that. They're like, okay.
We'll beat it by 10%.
Right. You know what I'm saying? They're like, okay, go ahead. If you can find something better,
we'll throw in a draft pick.
Yeah, we'll we'll talk. If you can find something better, we'll talk.
Well, for those that don't know, like in the music business, it's not uncommon to say, I met with the folks at Def Jam and this is what they're offering me. Here's the contract. Here's the terms.
Right. Exactly.
So, I don't know if it's that transparent in the NBA, but if attorneys and labels are doing it in the music business, I can't really imagine that it's far off from that. Right. But I can't say I know for sure.
And just thinking about the size of the NBA, you know what I'm saying, compared to the music business, right? It's a small group of them. You know what I mean? So that information is going to get around anyway in their circles. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, they offer this, they offer that. It's going to get around.
One thing I love about this front office, they keep their mouths shut.
Right. Let me ask this question. Similar to RCB Sports and Gaming, and this has come up before. Why do you think Ainge has decided not to build around Donovan Mitchell? Now, obviously, we don't know the answer to that, with any certainty. But, he could have easily just traded Gobert and said, listen, I got a all-star or a star or potential star in Donovan Mitchell. We got back assets in the Gobert trade. Let's build around him.
He said that initially.
Right. And does that give you pause or any concern with Donovan Mitchell that they don't want to build around him?
Nah, because honestly, I think he does want to get out of there. I think he's just not doing it publicly. I think he's doing it smart.
That he low key asked for.
Right. I think he just did it like he did it in a smart way.
How do you guys feel about that? Not Donovan Mitchell in particular, but just in general. I mean, because you got KD signs a 4-year extension, hasn't even kicked in yet. Request to trade. Speculatory. Donovan Mitchell, 4 years left on his deal. Speculatory request to trade. How do you feel about that just in general with players signing the extension and then requesting the trade. And I'm speaking like from an organization standpoint.
Well,
love
Because
let's answer this question first, and then we'll get to that question. Any thoughts about why he doesn't want to build around Donovan Mitchell, and does that give you pause for bringing him in? Harlem Girl said he wants out.
Yeah, I think
Girl said the
that's
timelines
it.
don't match.
That's it. He wants out, and like Jarrell said, and like I mentioned before, he wants out. He low key requested the trade, and that's what this is really about. It's not Ainge not wanting him, and Ainge is like, all right, well, you want out, great. You know, I like to get draft picks anyway. It works for me. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
I agree too.
So no pause.
And I love
bringing him in.
and in this time with a 25-year-old player that's been an all-star already wants to come to this team, I love the idea that they're asking out of their contract with 4 years remaining. Love it.
Right.
Paris Tucker said Ainge just watched Donovan Mitchell lose to a Luka-less Brunson squad badly. So he's of the opinion that he doesn't believe he can win with him, and he wants to get off of him. Timeline.
But what if Mitchell and Brunson are on the same team?
Oh, you mean like in the playoffs they was on the same team?
No, in the playoffs they weren't.
No.
Oh,
No,
that's
I was being sneaky. Like it was all part of that master plan to get on the same team.
okay. Gotcha. Okay, all right. So nobody has any pause or concerns that they are trading him in his prime. Okay.
Hey, the way I'm looking at it, if we get him, we got the Donovan killer on the team. So you know what I mean.
You know, now I don't have any pause about it. You know, because it happens all the time. It happens all the time with these players getting traded in their prime. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Right.
all the time. I mean, you know, we just see Paul George go from Indiana to two other teams.
Right.
From Indiana to OKC to the Clippers. Right. So
James Harden.
James Harden. Let's see, James Harden, you know, changed teams. Nah, it doesn't bother me at all.
Right. KD want to be on a fourth team.
Right. He wants to be on a fourth team.
Right.
You know,
Kyrie wants to be on a fourth team.
you know, so
Right.
you know, that's just the way the NBA is today. You know, players get their money and then try to. You know, I mean, listen, just like when I play 2K and you know they put me on another team, I start already plotting like, okay, I need to get my guy to the Knicks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean,
You give you like 10 games before you can request a trade. I go through all that. I go through all that too.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure that's what they do.
Real
Word.
You know what I mean? I'm sure that's what they do. They be plotting like, yeah, all right, I'm trying to get to this team, you know, whenever I can. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get my money, but I'm gonna try to get to this team here or get to that team there. You know,
and that is the new NBA.
Yeah.
Get your bag and request the trade.
Right.
And we gotta be up to the times with how business is being handled by the players.
Yeah. Right. Only person might not do it is Bradley Beal. That man I think he's gonna be in Washington for his career, bro.
And Dame.
Dame. That's right.
Man.
Yep. Both of them.
I think he got a no trade request clause in his contract. It was like, oh, I ain't never seen this before.
Right.
Donovan Mitchell is not a number one, debatable. We will have $70 million tied up in 3 players who are not number ones with no draft assets. Any thoughts on that?
I don't know, man. I think Donovan Mitchell not being a number one remains to be seen still, since he hasn't hit his prime. Say if he does come over here, like how many 2 guards in the East will be better than him? Like he will continue to be an all-star going forward for the next 5 years, probably.
I think Donovan Mitchell is a number one. I think he just didn't have a number 2 or number 3
or 4 or 5.
number 4 on his team.
Right.
I think he had arguably all-time great defender and then a bunch of
Jordan Clarkson.
fill-ins
Right.
and role players. I mean, shout out to Clarkson because I think Clarkson came in and he played his role
Right.
to a T. You know what I mean? So no knock on him. I think he did what he's capable of doing. I think they got a Conley who's past his prime.
Mhm.
That I think he's a guy that was always a good defender, but even that part of his game was past his prime. I mean, who else was on there? Bogdanovich.
Joe Ingles.
I think Ingles definitely past his prime. The injury didn't help.
Rudy Gay past his prime.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. He didn't. You guys took me into Donovan. Like I was like, no, not today. I was like the first day we spoke about it.
Yeah.
I was skeptical. You know what I mean? Like, and it didn't take but one show for me to say, "Oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that." You know, and then the more research, I mean, what top 7 in NBA history, and top 5 in current. Like this is.
And
in
if
the
he comes here,
come on.
If he comes here, it would actually be a lot easier for him to score. Like if you watch Utah play, like he was their entire offense.
And he's getting to play with guys who are not only not past their prime, but arguably haven't reached their prime yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm with it. I'm with it. You guys convinced me.
But Paris, this is one thing, Paris. I wish you could call in and answer this question: why you value Obi over RJ? So Spider comes, RJ isn't getting paid. Leon isn't paying 4 guys over $100 million to go buy RJ. So I get it, you're not an RJ fan, but you're a huge Obi fan, and I just
Right.
I don't quite get it.
I'm surprised it's not by Randall.
I think it is by Randall. But you have
no. I mean from Parrish.
Right. Tony, you had a question before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I think I said what I was saying.
Okay. I thought you had a question earlier.
What did I say?
I wanted to get that one in.
Yeah, there was something because you said before we answer that question.
Before we answer that question.
It was based off of that question though. What was your question? Because it was based off of that.
You too old for this, Tom.
We are.
All of us too old for this.
It was about the 4-year, like the players requesting, signing that extension and then requesting the trade. And I want to get your perspective, but from the organization side, not from the player side, because at what point as an organization do you say, no, you signed here, I'm keeping you, and I'm only going to move you if it's for my benefit? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, man. 2022, you almost can't do that as an organization. I think, and plus, it depends on what sport you're talking about too.
I mean, I'm only talking about basketball. Like, for instance, like KD. At this point, if I'm the Nets, I'm not moving you.
But in terms of guaranteed money, how does that work though? That's what I'm saying. Like,
but you don't have to. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, if you force him to play, like, I don't know what you just going by him having the self-respect to go out there and win, or like what you ask him to do.
It's especially the guy who said, I just want to hoop.
Yeah, but that's a good example, but that's just one player. So if you do that for everybody, all the players aren't going to have that same sort of integrity. To me,
I mean,
like, you can't force people to play.
If I'm paying you, yes, you're playing, or this is gonna turn into something that the league is gonna have to address, because I don't see how I'm all for player empowerment, but this is player overpowerment. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think I think the league is going to look into it. I also wonder if the agents have something to do with it.
Right.
Like, it's, the agents have a lot of power nowadays. So, okay, my client asks for a trade and you're not going to accommodate him.
Right.
All right.
Like, I don't see
You're gonna
that
want something
happening
for us. You're going to want
anymore.
one of our players down the line.
it's
Exactly.
a dangerous game.
It's tough. But
It's a dangerous game.
see, me, if I was a general manager running team, whoever, whatever the title is, and a player asked out, the first thing I would do is sit down with them and talk with them and say, all right, what can we do? If I want to keep this player, what can we do to make this work? Right? If I want to keep the player. And if they're like, nothing, I want out, then you know what? I'm not wasting any time. I'm moving them. And at this point, too, I'm not worried about where you want to go either. You said you want out. I'm going to move you wherever
That's my point.
I want to move you.
That's
wherever
my
I
point.
get the best
I can see that.
package.
That's my point.
Yeah, I can see that.
And what if the player says, you ask him, what does it take to keep you? And he's like, all right, I want the coach gone. I don't like the point guard. And I think the center should be on the bench and we need somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that, to me, that's crazy.
Right.
So basically, you want my job too. That's what you want. You want me to step down and you.
How many players though are really in a position to walk into the office and have that kind of conversation?
I don't know. If you're the best player on the team, on one of them, you have that type of power.
Yeah. I mean, but
regardless if you're an all-star or anything, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. But if a player comes in and they say that, then I'm like, you know what? This ain't happening. We'll just go in another direction then, and we'll accommodate your trade. I won't move them to where they want to go, but
you gotta move them.
But I'll move them.
This whole keeping them out of spite, like that's not going. that doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, it's gonna be some spite.
Don't want to go can also
and that's what
create issues with the agents as well.
Yeah, that's why it's a lose-lose.
Due diligence and whatever, but you be like, no, I'm sending you to the Sacramento Kings.
No, and I'm doing it on purpose. I'll take
that's going to create. I think that's going to create issues with the.
It will.
Because it's the front office and the agent that's going back and forth.
Right.
You're going to have to deal with this agent, and the agent knows they're going to have to deal with this. May have to deal with this front office in the future, because I've been noticing that of late. Guys under contracts demanding where they want to go. Harden did.
Yeah.
Gave them a list. He was under contract and he gave them a list of where he wanted to go. But see, once a guy plays with you for a while, you kind of want to, you've developed a relationship with them as well. So you kind of want to see them happy. I don't know about the Brooklyn Durant thing, but Harden was in Houston for a minute.
Right.
The messed up thing is, I think the Spurs tried to do the spiteful thing and send him to Toronto, and then Kawhi, and then he goes and gets the ring, which is like egg in their face. You know what I mean? I also wouldn't be surprised if Murray, same thing. Hey, I'm not staying here much longer. Move me now. Here's my list, or this is my team, because there's speculation that they were in cahoots for some time. Trae Young and Murray wanting to play with each other. So it to me, I just think it's real dangerous. I hope this doesn't hit the Knicks circuit. You know what I mean? I hope this is something that we're witnessing out surrounding teams and surrounding players, and it doesn't come to our doorstep, because I don't know if I'm going to be necessarily on the player's side when it happens to us, because I'm a Knicks fan before I'm the fan of the guy's name on the back of the jersey.
Yeah.
Well, it can happen with Donovan Mitchell when he gets here. If the Knicks don't do what they can to put a winner, around him,
I say he's gonna ask for a trade.
he can ask out too after 2 years.
Yeah.
So
I just said you just can't do nothing though. Like something has to happen. Like you have to trade him. You might not give them the destination that you want, but like just saying that you're going to play here, then that's not going to happen.
Right. And I would just be straight up with with them too. Say, listen, all right, I'm gonna accommodate your trade. You know, if they made all these demands and I'm like, listen, we can't do that. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
not how this is gonna work. So I'll accommodate your trade, but I'm letting you know right now, you know, I'm gonna take the best package that's offered. You know what I'm saying? So, and if that's a place that you want to go, then fine. But if not, I'm looking out for the team. I'm not looking out for one particular player. You know, and it would have to be like that. You know, and the agent would have to understand that. You know what I'm saying? Because you get put the team in that type of situation like, oh, I want out now. You got to trade me where I want to go. And so now they're hamstrung and can't get the best deal, get the best deal.
Think about the audacity of KD saying, I want to go to one of these two teams, but if you trade me to these two teams, you can't trade me for this guy or this guy because I want to play with them too.
Yeah,
like,
right.
are you serious right now?
That's different.
Like-
I'm not talking about situations like that. That's different.
And the thing with KD, but then again, the other team, do you want to take on somebody who doesn't want to be there?
That's
I mean,
true.
And the KD now, he's under contract for 4 years. Sometimes the receiving team, you're getting somebody who's only under contract for 1 year. So if you don't think this guy is going to sign for you, are you giving up those assets for somebody who may not resign? Now, KD,
that's why I respect the Raptors so much, because they said, you know what, we're gonna take a chance, and not only did they win it, you know what I mean, and lose them, but at that point it was justified. You know what I mean? Like, we got our ring. We trying to keep you. We're giving you everything in the world that we could offer you. Now the ball's in your court. Either you're gonna come and stay, but if you don't, we lost some assets getting you, but we got a ring. So I think teams will take that chance if they feel like this guy is gonna give them a ring in that 1 year, 2 year window, whatever it is that they have them under contract for.
They may not have got, if it wasn't for that missed shot by who was that, Butler against Philly, they may not even got that. And they would
or the Kawhi bounce.
Right. That's what I meant. So they could have. That was a.
Yeah, if KD didn't get hurt, that wouldn't have worked out for them. No way.
I mean,
they got lucky, but they earned it. Don't get me wrong, but they definitely got the ball bounced in their court.
I think you can make an argument for every team that won that and point out some point that they got lucky. Luck is a huge part of it.
Right, but they could have gave up those assets and not got a championship out of it. Is the point?
No, I know, but I think it's worth the risk. You don't think another team will do that again? You think that was
somebody
like a one?
That? Would you want the Knicks to do that for just a chance?
Yeah. What if this Donovan Mitchell trade was just for a chance for this year and this year only?
And
no, because Mitchell is not that guy. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I think you only do that for a top 5 guy.
But even for KD right now, who is a
to be honest with you, I read the chat earlier. They was like, no KD. I'd consider it if
not
it costs
4 years though.
No, I know 1 year.
Contract of Kawhi 1 year.
If I felt like he put us in that position to win this year, and he only had 1 year left, yes, I take that risk.
But you're giving up assets though.
If whatever we have left combined with KD, I feel like puts us in that contention, I take that.
No.
I take
Not
that.
For 1 year.
And let's keep in mind,
tough, man.
Kawhi didn't resign, but you still have that option of convincing that player to resign, especially if you win. Now, granted, like I said, Kawhi didn't resign, but they did everything in their power. You know what I mean? The whole city, hey, free meals for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It was. You know what I mean? So I take that chance and gamble. I do it.
That's a tough one. I guess it depends on where the team is, right? If I've been going to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times in a row,
Yeah.
4 times in a row, and I hadn't gotten over the top. And I'm like, man, I'm looking at my roster like, I don't see how we're gonna get over the top. I might take that chance. You know what I'm saying? But it has to be that kind of circumstance. Like if it's where we are right now, I'm not.
And that was not right now. Like that situation, it was my best player. I'm replacing my best player with your best player, and kind of throwing in the trade, the draft picks as the real compensation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they were closer to. They were one piece away, kind of. You know what I mean? As
they
opposed to us.
Considered championship.
I mean, I think you can make the
prior to Kawhi.
I think you can make the argument that they were. They just ran into LeBron every single year. And I think that was the like they was that team for years. They just kept losing to LeBron.
Yeah.
Every year.
Conference finals, though, where were they losing to?
It don't matter if LeBron is the guy that's getting to the finals 8 years in a row, and he's also the guy that is beating your team 8 years in a row. No matter what team he's playing for, he's that team his team advanced to the
what
finals.
I'm trying to say is LeBron's team can beat a team 8 years in a row doesn't necessarily mean the team that they beat were championship contenders, right? They could have beat the number 8 seed 8 years in a row.
You're right. It's the same. It's the Jordan debate. Like, yo, we keep running into Jordan every year, and Jordan's getting to the
keep running into Jordan. So the point I'm asking is, was Toronto a championship contending team that kept running into Jordan, or were they the Knicks that kept running into Jordan? You understand?
I think what I'm saying is I think you can make the argument that they were a championship team
with DeRozan.
They with DeRozan and Lowry. The problem was they couldn't get past LeBron. Whether it was Cleveland, whether it was Miami, whether you know what I mean. Like that's the team that they lost to every time.
Yeah, but if I remember
so it's like,
I don't think they were championship contenders, were they?
I don't
know. They didn't win, so like you're gonna win the argument.
But no. But you could look at Philly. Philly hasn't won, but they were championship contenders, meaning they were.
I'd make the argument because they lost to different teams each time. I would make the argument that they're less of the contender. Like if the team that beats you every year is getting to the finals, you're gonna be looking at it like, yo, if it wasn't for this team, I could beat everybody else. It's just that team that had my number.
But were they that team, though, is the point I'm trying to make. Was Toronto that team? If you looked at their roster, on paper, were they championship contenders? I can look at Philly on paper and say they're championship contenders. They may not make it. I can look at Milwaukee on paper and say they're championship contenders. They may not make it. Was Toronto that at the time?
I think the Tones point, even if we didn't feel that way, they had to have felt that way in order to make that Kawhi move, I guess. I agree with you, Steph. I don't think they were from the outside looking in, but they had to have thought that in order to make that move.
Oh,
that move don't make no sense.
Kawhi would have made them that.
Yeah.
I think that too.
Like, thought that. Yeah.
If you looked at LeBron, let's say, getting hurt in one of those seasons or in the playoff matchups that they had against them, if they were able to beat LeBron, if they were able to beat a LeBron-less team, they very well could have beat all the other teams.
And that's how I feel they felt. I'm not making an argument for them, or like for myself. I'm kind of making an argument for them.
I was just trying to remember their roster at the time.
I mean, they had oh my God, the dude from OKC. But I don't even know if he choked. I think he kept bumping it. He kept running into LeBron.
You could watch a game though and see.
I think there was times that Larry choked. I think he had choke moments. I think Larry had choke moments. I think what's that guy's name that used to play for OKC, the big man? Ibaka. Yes. They had Ibaka. Like they had a nice squad.
They didn't have LeBron though. That's what.
And this is like back to what you said about Jordan. It's like, you cannot downplay the LeBron effect. You can't
Nobody's
downplay
trying
it.
to downplay it, but I'm saying the Knicks can say Michael Jordan blocked them. They were a championship contending team on paper. So that's the only question I'm asking. Was Toronto, you can't say, Orlando didn't win a championship because they kept losing in the first round to Michael Jordan. You weren't a championship contending team anyway. So he didn't really block you. You weren't a championship contending team, period. Even if Michael Jordan wasn't there.
I would make the argument that Toronto was.
Okay, that's
I would.
what I was asking.
I would.
Okay. Anyway, we out of here. Any last words? We talking about Toronto.
Right. Toronto. Look, we got a whole roster. Hold on.
Yeah, might as well just talk about everybody in the East.
Hey,
Right.
it was some structure behind it.
Good question, though. Good question.
Kevin Bergen said Toronto was a top 4 team all those years.
Yeah,
I mean, the year before they won it, they were 60-22, second best record in the league.
Yeah, so yeah, they were.
And they lost to Cleveland.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Year before that, 52-30.
Yeah, they had to have thought that they would.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
because you don't make that move if you don't think that will get you over the hump. That's just like Tone said. You wouldn't. That'd be a crazy move for them.
Right.
And I'll wrap it up here. The year before that, lost to Cleveland in the conference finals, and they were 53-29 that season. So I mean, that's 3 consecutive seasons losing to the team that went to the NBA Finals with LeBron James.
All 3 times it was in the finals, the conference finals.
Well, no, wherever they met them, whether like, they might have met them in the Eastern Conference round, they might have met them in the first round. It was just like, yo, why we keep bumping into this dude? You know what I mean?
Like, once in the finals and twice in the semifinals.
Right.
Okay.
Twice in the second round, 1 in the finals. That's good. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, Jordan had to go through it. He lost to Detroit in the semis. Then he lost to Detroit in the conference finals, and he lost to them in the conference finals again before he finally beat them. But they made some significant, upgrades to the squad.
Had to.
All right. Any last?
another great show, Queen.
Word. Another great show. Thank you for having me again. It's always appreciative. And salute to the chat. Some of y'all cool, some of y'all ain't. But it's all good, man. It's all love.
Yeah, and come on the crossover and give your alternative or opposite opinions of us respectfully.
Right, because I do listen though. I do listen.
And we appreciate it. We like the alternative thoughts and opinions.
Right. Because I will say, wow, I didn't think about it like that. Or I did think about it. I just disagree.
Yeah.
But she will never say you're wrong. She'll never say you're dumb. She'll never say, you know what I mean? Like, that's a stupid take.
But what I would say though is I don't get it. Because sometimes I don't get it. I'd be like, wow, I just don't get it.
Sometimes they don't get it either though, Steph. They just don't want to admit it, but it's all good. Like,
Yeah.
it's what it is, man. That's just how people are. Yeah. Some people.
But anyway.
Fire.
I appreciate y'all rocking with us, and we will see you next time.
Right.
Peace.
And we are out of here, ladies and gentlemen.